The following film isn't about aerosol culture as a whole, because it's too vast, rich, deep, and complex to cover in the time that we're given. So basically what I'm saying is, if the whole movement were a loaf, then this would be a slice. You get the message?
Get the message. Get the message. Message is love.
Stereotypes have permeated throughout the ages for centuries, particularly in the West. From the view of what makes a woman or a man, to more extreme views such as people's sexuality and accepted views of race.
No, I'm not gonna rob you, but the way I'm dressed, you would guess. The brother like me came to cause some static, calling me a crook, it's automatic. No, I'm not gonna beat you. Now you think I wanna harm your person. I was born in a fight, and if I wanna fight...
One of the most controversial and least challenged stereotypes is that surrounding the modern cultural phenomenon known as graffiti, aerosol or spray can art. Wall writings have been written and recorded in some form or other since the beginning of time, from Stone Age cave paintings and inscriptions on ancient monuments to more modern political statements and postmodern extraterrestrial crop circles recorded throughout the world. Plus, most of us can remember inscribing our thoughts and feelings, jokes or comments, as well as our initials or those of a loved one, on anything that offered permanence, from lavatories, walls and school desks, to park benches, trees and bus stops. As this is what we think about when we hear the words graffiti and vandalism, it's no wonder that we seek to tarnish with the same brush those who use spray cans creatively and artistically to boldly say what they feel.
London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls. London calling, now don't look to us. Phony Beatlemania has bitten the dust. London calling, see we ain't got no swing.
As the general public are constantly exposed to aerosol culture from a visual perspective, but unlike the authorities know nothing about its purpose or significance, it was interesting to find out what they had to say.
No, not art form at all, is it? Not at all. Absolutely not. And I just think it's like writing on toilet boards, it's the same thing. I've never felt the desire or need to do it. I never felt the desire or need to express myself in that way. I can understand why some people do. There again, I think they should channel their aggression or their ideas into some other form, take a more active role in society, rather than just writing it on the wall for maybe anybody to see or whatever.
This is childish, really. That sort of putting signatures on the walls and everything, that's childish. And I don't think they should be allowed to do it. But then again, the ones that do it as an art form, they should be allowed to do it. They should have like somewhere, a hall or something where they could just do it, play around and do it. And the ones that do the signatures could go there as well and learn something out of it.
Some of the art forms that I've seen have been very good. They've been incredibly artistic. Others is just writing on the wall. It's just I don't know, a load of rubbish, just things that kids haven't got anything better to do, I suppose.
The people that do really nice graffiti do it on walls. They don't do it on trays. They're inclined to do it fast. You know, you've got to have time to do one of them them graffiti paintings, because they're lovely, aren't they? I've only seen with a tractor get them off and it looks shocking on the train, you know.
And if there were beautiful pieces on the trains?
Yes, if they were nice, if I thought they were lovely, yes, they could be left on. In fact, they could do a whole train in graffiti if it was done by somebody who knows what they're doing, not somebody with just a can of paint spraying anything.
The general public appear to have made a clear distinction between people who tag their names and those who paint pieces. Yet from the mid-80s to the early 90s, when public ignorance about aerosol art was at an all-time high, most people believed in the stereotype of a macho male yob having little respect for anyone and none whatsoever for authority and society's rules. This view was widely accepted as fact by a gullible public that would believe almost anything handed to it by an apparently educated and authoritarian face. In this climate of ignorance, the punters were ready to be spoon-fed with yet another meal. But by whom?
Something is wrong. They say that the youth of today don't know how to behave themselves. They don't act right. Well, it is due to the fact that you have not given the children the substance that they need, the confidence that they need, that they can go out on their own.
The media to a certain extent play the game as far as I'm concerned. They want to sell newspapers, and it's a classic game. If I or writers do anything that gets into the public eye or the public hear about it, they'll come to see me, talk about the exhibition, find out all the information, make nice noises, and fairly positive noises, and I think they're fairly genuinely positive. But then they'll instantly go to the London Underground or the police and say, what do you think about this exhibition, knowing full well, and the way they put it to them, they know full well that they'll get the response that, this is vandalism and it's going to perpetuate vandalism, etc. And so that they self-create a story, and then they just hype that story up and up and up until other news comes along or the story dissipates.
There's definitely a conspiracy to mislead the public about writing and writers. It's really coming from one angle of like the mindless yob, where I don't really know too many mindless yobs that write. Most of the people really think sensibly about what they're doing. They have opinions about what they do. And they do care about what they do, and they care about what other people think to a certain extent.
We call it all art, and some of it definitely isn't, right? They call it mindless vandalism, some of it definitely isn't, you know. It's not really expected that they're going to say, yeah, well, you know, we like this and we don't like that, and some of it's really nice, but the rest is, you know, they've got to say the most extreme thing just to try and get their point home, not to give an inch.
The stereotypes of graffiti writers are perpetuated, I suppose, by the media, but I mean it's pre that. The theorists of vandalism only look at graffiti in terms of vandalism. I haven't really seen that it's been looked at in other ways. Occasionally they'll say, well, maybe it could be a positive. What it comes out as, if you're a vandal, you're a deviant, and so it's the deviant theorists, which links up with criminal theories of criminology. They set the scene to a certain extent. I mean, most of the police or LRT will usually go back to the quotes that came out from those theorists.
It is fashionable among some misguided people to glorify graffiti, whereas in fact it is antisocial and it is extraordinarily dangerous.
British Transport Police at the moment are looking into offences of graffiti which are being perpetrated against trains, London transport trains, not only against the trains but on stations and other property belonging to London Transport.